I never thought I'd stare down the barrel of my own son's contempt and feel nothing but cold fire in my veins. That night in our family kitchen, with the Chicago wind howling outside like a bad omen, Ethan looked me dead in the eyes and spat. "You're a disappointment, Mom. A fraud who built an empire on lies." 3 months later, I didn't just claw my way back. I devoured the life he'd stolen from me, piece by bloody piece, and left him wondering if blood really is thicker than the ink on a hostile takeover contract. It started with a whisper in the boardroom, the kind that echoes louder than any shout. I'd poured 30 years into Vertex Dynamics, turning a scrappy software startup in the windy corridors of the Loop into a billion-dollar beast that powered half the Fortune 500 supply chains. Nevaeh Harlan, that's me. The queen of code and cutthroat deals. The woman who coded her first algorithm on a Commodore 64 while 9 months pregnant with Ethan. I named him after the wind that shaped the city, thinking it'd make him unbreakable. Instead, it made him think he was invincible. The betrayal hit like a Loop L train derailing at rush hour. Ethan had been groomed for the throne since he could walk. Internships at 16. Harvard Business by 20. Back to Vertex as my shadow VP by 25. He was all sharp suits and sharper smiles. The golden boy investors drooled over. But beneath that polish, a rot I should have smelled from a mile away. It was embezzlement, plain and vicious, siphoning funds from our R&D slush to fuel his side hustle. A flashy AI startup called Nexus that promised to disrupt the disruptors. He masked it as vendor kickbacks. But the audits I finally greenlit uncovered the trail, millions funneled through offshore shells in the Caymans, all while he pitched me on innovative synergies. I took the fall for him. God help me.
I did.
The feds were circling like vultures over a fresh kill. SEC hounds sniffing for insider trading ties. Ethan came to me one rain-soaked night, eyes wide with that boyish panic I'd once found endearing.
Mom.
They'll bury us both. But if it's just you, we can spin it. Legacy protection. Legacy. The word tasted like ash even then. I could have thrown him to the wolves, let the headlines scream, heiress's heir in heist scandal. But I was the mother who'd rocked him through colic, the exec who'd signed his first $1 million bonus. So I confessed. Forged the paper trail myself. Made it look like I'd greenlit the diversions for personal liquidity. Pleaded guilty to wire fraud in a hushed federal courtroom. Sentenced to 3 years probation and a lifetime ban from C-suite anywhere east of the Mississippi. Vertex? They ousted me faster than you can say, poison pill. Board vote, unanimous. With Ethan's proxy leading the charge. He stood at the podium during the presser, voice steady as Lake Michigan ice, calling it a painful but necessary evolution. The shares tanked 20% that week. But he swooped in as CEO, rebranding the pain as renewal. Investors ate it up, young blood. Fresh vision. Meanwhile, I slunk back to a sublet in Pilsen. The Mexican murals on the walls mocking my faded glory. Living off canned soup and spite. That's when the hook sank deepest. Ethan didn't just take the company, he erased me. Changed the bylaws to strip my name from the masthead. Donated my corner office artifacts to the Chicago History Museum as artifacts of innovation. And the calls? Radio silence from the son who'd once begged me for bedtime stories about Ada Lovelace. Until that kitchen showdown. 6 months post-fall. I'd invited him over for what I billed as a reconciliation dinner, roast chicken from Manny's. The goods silverware out. He showed with a bottle of cheap bourbon and a smirk. "You're a disappointment," he said, not even waiting for the grace. We were midway through the meal, steam rising like unspoken accusations. You tanked us.
Mom.
Your legacy nearly killed Vertex. I saved it, hired the turnaround team, landed the DoD contract. But every quarter, analysts whisper your name like a curse. Nevaeh's ghost. I had to bury you deeper. His words weren't just knives, they were thermite, burning through the last threads of maternal delusion. I laughed, a hollow, ugly sound that bounced off the Formica counters. Bury me?
Boy.
You dug my grave with my own damn shovel. He leaned in, eyes gleaming like the knife he'd used to carve the bird. And I'd do it again.
For the family.
For the future. I left that night with the taste of betrayal sour on my tongue, but a spark igniting in my gut. Revenge isn't a dish best served cold. It's a slow roast, timed to perfection. I had no board seat, no Rolodex of allies left untainted. But I had secrets. Oh, the secrets I'd buried deeper than his offshore accounts. Vertex's core algorithm, the one that made us untouchable, it wasn't mine alone. It was co-authored in a fever dream weekend with Raj Patel, my first CTO, who'd bolted for Stanford after a bitter IP spat. Raj held the original notebooks, the kind that could unravel Ethan's innovations like cheap thread. And the kicker? Nexus, his pet project, was a Frankenstein ripoff of Vertex code, laced with backdoors I'd planted as a mother's failsafe years ago. First move, ghost in the machine. From my Pilsen hole in the wall, I dusted off an old laptop, nothing fancy, just a Dell refugee from the aughts, and slipped into the dark web forums where ex-Vertex coders nursed grudges like open wounds. Harlan's widow seeks whispers. I posted under a burner handle. The replies flooded in, disgruntled devs, axed during Ethan's streamlining, spilling tea on his corner cutting, ghost employees on payroll, AI models trained on pirated datasets. I funneled it to a PI named Lena Vasquez, a no-nonsense ex-cop from Little Village who'd once bounced me from a dive bar brawl. Lena cost me my last clean 20 grand, but she delivered, dossiers thicker than a Sears catalog, proving Ethan's nexus was hemorrhaging cash, propped up by Vertex loans he'd authorized himself. By week 4, I was a shadow puppeteer, pulling strings from the underside of the city. Chicago's underbelly is a gold mine for the fallen, barter deals in the backrooms of jazz joints on Rush Street, where hedge fund cast-offs swap intel for shots of old style. I met Tommy the Blade Russo there, a disbarred attorney with a nose for distressed assets and a grudge against Ethan's board for freezing him out of a merger. Kids playing with fire, Tommy rasped over a haze of cigar smoke, sliding me a flash drive of leaked emails. He's leveraged Vertex to the hilt for Nexus. One bad quarter, and it's Chapter 11 bingo. I didn't sleep much after that. Nights blurred into code marathons, my fingers flying over keys like they were auditioning for a Tarantino flick, revenge porn for the digital age. I activated those backdoors. Subtle at first, glitches in Nexus's demo software that made investor pitches fizzle like wet firecrackers. A hedge fund bigwig from New York pulled a $50 mil wire mid-call when his screen glitched to a looping error. Legacy error. Mother knows best. Ethan blamed cyber squatters, but the blogs lit up, TechCrunch running headlines like Nexus Nightmare is Harlan Jr. hacking his own hype. The real flip came at the family reunion. If you can call a forced sit-down in a sterile Gold Coast steakhouse a reunion. Ethan's wife, Blair, blonde, Botoxed, the kind of wasp perfection that screams old money, had orchestrated it. All pearl clutches and passive-aggressive toasts. To new beginnings, she chirped, clinking her Riedel against my water glass. Ethan sat across, tie loosened, looking every bit the cornered fox. Midway through the ribeye, he cracked. What the hell are you doing, Mom? Nexus is tanking. Investors jumping ship. If this is you. His voice dropped to a hiss. Low enough the waiter wouldn't catch it. You're destroying everything I built. Built. I echoed. Fork poised like a stiletto. You mean stole? I confessed for you.
Ethan.
Ate the indictments so you could play king. And this is the thanks, a public vivisection. Blair shifted, eyes darting to the exit. But he leaned in, that scheming glint sharpening. You were always the weak link. Too soft. Too sentimental. I did what you couldn't: cut the fat. Chase the vision. If you'd stepped aside gracefully, he trailed off. But the implication hung. Without the scandal, without my fall. That's when I dropped the first bomb. Slid a slim folder across the linen. Lena's handiwork. Redacted just enough to sting. Read it, I said, voice steady as the L rumbling outside. Your vision is a house of cards.
Kid.
Pirated code. Ghost VCs. One whistle to the journal. And you're not CEO, you're cellmate. He snatched it, knuckles whitening, flipping pages like they were laced with anthrax. Blair gasped, a pearl-handled horror show. For a split second, I saw the boy again, scared, scrambling. Then the mask snapped back. Blackmail? From the disgraced founder?
Cute.
But you're radioactive.
Mom.
Touch me, and you burn too. He was half right. My probation barred direct interference. But loopholes are America's love language. I lawyered up with Tommy, who looped in a consortium of silent partners, Raj Patel, back from academia with venture scars, a cabal of Midwest manufacturers stiffed by Vertex's supply hikes under Ethan, even a rogue Saudi fund eyeing U.S. tech for Sharia-compliant plays. We formed Harlan Holdings LLC in a Delaware shell, ironic. That tax haven twist, pooling $200 mil in seed capital. My role? Silent strategist. The ghost in the gala dress. Raj handled the tech audit, exposing how Ethan's upgrades had bloated the codebase with Nexus spyware, vulnerable to hacks that'd make Equifax blush. The tension ratcheted like a South Side summer storm. Ethan countered viciously, leaked my psych evals from the plea deal to the Sun-Times, painting me as unhinged matriarch on a vendetta. Protests outside my sublet, picketers with signs, Nevaeh's revenge, bitter ex-exec endangers jobs. I holed up, blinds drawn, fielding death threats on a burner line. But doubt crept in, insidious as lake effect fog. Was I the villain here? Ethan had stabilized Vertex, stock up 15% post-scandal. New hires from IIT churning out patents. My revenge wasn't just justice, it was ego. A mother's wounded howl echoing in an empty high-rise. Then the lurch. A midnight call from Lena. Your boy's flipping scripts again. Met with the feds. Immunity deal if he testifies on your coercion in the original fraud. Coercion? The word ignited napalm in my chest. He'd pin the whole embezzlement on me. Twist my protection into puppeteering. I paced the linoleum till dawn. The city lights mocking me through cracked blinds. Call him? Beg?
No.
Time to escalate. I greenlit the audit dump, anonymous. Of course, to Bloomberg. By morning, Vertex shares dipped 8%. Nexus valuation cratered to vaporware. Ethan's war room went into lockdown. But not before he texted me. First contact in weeks. You win this round.
Mom.
But families forever. Truce.
Truce.
The word slithered like a dealer's marked card. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Part of me, the part that still smelled his baby shampoo, wanted to type yes. But the fire? It roared louder. Family's what you make it, I replied. And hung up. The boardroom siege was pure Chicago theater, gritty, graph-laced, with spotlights on the sleeves. Harlan Holdings launched the tender offer at dawn. A $1.20 bill bid framed as shareholder salvation. Ethan's camp scrambled, invoking poison pills and white knights. But we timed it for quarterly hell. Nexus's beta launch bombed, exposing data leaks that fried client trust. Protests swelled outside the Vertex Tower on Wacker Drive, blue-collar machinists from Rockford chanting Harlan Heist, while tech bros in hoodies waved Innovate or Die placards. The media frenzy? A circus. CNN panels debating dynastic drama. Is mom's revenge merit or madness? I watched from a war room in a nondescript loop coffee shop, Tommy nursing espresso, Raj crunching projections on a tablet, Lena scanning for tails. My burner buzzed with leaks, Ethan rallying the board, promising golden parachutes to hold the line. But cracks spiderwebbed fast. A holdout director, old-school steel baron from Gary, defected after we dangled a consulting gig. Whispers of insider sells rippled through after-hours trading. By noon, our stake hit 35%, enough for a proxy fight. Ethan called then, voice frayed like overwashed denim. This ends now.
Mom.
Meet me. Neutral ground. Neutral? In this city, we settled on the Art Institute's modern wing, marble floors, Picasso stairs, the kind of echoey hush that amplifies heartbeats. He arrived disheveled, no suit, just jeans and a V-neck that screamed defeat. I was there early, perched on a bench by the Calder Mobile, its reds and blues swirling like my gut. You look like hell, I said as he sat, not unkindly. He barked a laugh, bitter as black coffee. Pot.
Kettle.
What do you want? Nevea? The crown back? Fine. I'll resign. Hand it over clean. But Nexus, leave it. That's mine. His eyes, those mirrors of my own stormy grays, pleaded in a way words couldn't. For a beat, the mobile's sway hypnotized us. A mechanical ballet of balance. I could end it here, walk away, with Vertex intact. Mother-son détente over deep dish at Giordano's. But then he added, soft as a confession, I did it for us. You were burning out.
Mom.
The board was circling. I accelerated. To protect you.
Protect.
The lie landed like a sucker punch. By framing me? By letting me rot on probation while you played savior. My voice cracked, drawing glances from a tour group. He shifted, the schemer surfacing. It was mercy. You took the hit because you chose to. And now, this takeover, it's not justice, it's jealousy. Admit it, you can't stand me succeeding without you. The word stung because they half rang true. Was my revenge pure? Or poisoned by pride? The mobile clanged softly. A wind chime warning. I stood, the decision crystallizing like frost on the lake. Mercy doesn't come with a gag order.
Ethan.
You want peace? Dissolve Nexus. Fold it into Vertex under my oversight. Prove you're not the snake I raised. His face twisted shock. Then fury. Then that flip. The chameleon charm. You're asking me to kill my dream. For what?
Your ego trip.
He rose, towering a half-inch taller. But I held ground. Family's choices.
Kid.
Yours or mine. He stormed out, but not before the text barrage. Voicemails from Blair sobbing about divorce. Board memos pleading for my guidance. The split deepened. City cleaved between Nevaeh's redemption, cheerleaders in the Trib op-eds, and Ethan's Silicon Valley, simps decrying, toxic legacy plays. Social media? A dumpster fire. Harlem Wars trending. With memes of me as a cyber witch hunting her prince. I ignored it, focusing on the endgame. Tommy's consortium pushed the bid to $1.40 bill, sweetening with green incentives solar audits for Rust Belt plants, a nod to Biden-era subsidies that had the unions buzzing. The climax detonated at the shareholder vote, a coliseum packed into the Palmer House ballroom. Crystal chandeliers dripped light on a sea of suits and scowls, pension fund reps from Springfield, VC sharks from Sand Hill Road. Even a smattering of Pilsen neighbors eyed comped tickets to. Ethan took the podium first. A lion in pinstripes. Vertex's family. This bid? A hostile hijack by ghosts of scandals past. Cheers erupted. But so did boos raw. Midwestern descent. Then my turn. Proxy through Raj. Who nailed the pitch. Evolution. Not erasure. Nevaeh Harlan's vision. Amplified. Ballots tallied in agonizing slow-mo. The room thick with sweat and schadenfreude. 52% ours. The gavel fell like thunder. And Ethan? He didn't rage, he conspired. Slipped from the wings. Cornered me in the green room amid velvet drapes and half-eaten charcuterie. Congratulations,
CEO.
But you think this ends it? His smile was oil-slick, promising payback. I have dirt.
Mom.
The real kind. Remember Dad's accident? That drunk driver you buried? The twist gut-punched harder than any boardroom brawl. My husband, Ethan's father, dead in a 98 pileup on I-90. Official report. Wrong way, whiskey runner. But Ethan? He knew. I'd confessed to him years ago. In a bourbon-fueled haze after a merger flop, I'd covered for Mark, who'd been behind the wheel, 3 whiskeys deep from a client dinner. Falsified the logs. Paid off the tox report tech. A mother's secret, born to shield a grieving boy. You think I forgot? Ethan hissed. I let you have Vertex's penance.
Now?
It's leverage. Resign. Or the DA reopens cold cases. The room spun. Calder's mobiles mocking from memory. He'd flipped again, not son to mother, but avenger to architect. Was he right to unearth it? Wrong to weaponize? The line blurred, leaving me and any witness in moral no man's land. Dawn broke gray over the lake as I weighed the scales. Vertex reclaimed. But at what cost? Ethan's threat wasn't bluff. He'd squirreled the evidence. A digital time bomb from my old home server. I could have lawyered harder. Spun it as statute barred. But the headlines? Double-dealing dynasty, Harlan mom's fatal cover-up. It'd torch everything. The buyback. My probation. The fragile empire I'd resurrected. Chicago's justice is swift and unforgiving. Ask any South Side whistleblower. But revenge, true to its bones, demands totality. I didn't fold. I folded him in. Called Raj at 5 a.m. Voice hoarse from the night's vigil. Activate protocol Eve. The backdoor's kill switch. Not just glitches, but a full-spectrum purge. By 8 a.m., Nexus servers went dark worldwide, client portals bricked, source code evaporating into ether. Ethan's dream didn't just die, it self-immolated, leaving audit trails straight to his Cayman slush. The feds? They knocked on his Gold Coast penthouse by lunch. Cuffs optional but irony mandatory. The fallout was a symphony of schadenfreude. Vertex stock surged 12% on the clean slate news. Analysts crowing about my masterstroke governance.
Ethan?
Arraigned on fraud and obstruction. Out on $10 mill bail courtesy of Blair's daddy's trust. He didn't call, instead. A letter arrived via courier, handwritten. On Vertex letterhead stationery he'd swiped. You taught me everything.
Mom.
To scheme, to survive. But this? You didn't buy back a company. You auctioned our soul. Was Dad worth it? Am I? The words blurred under my thumb. A debate distilled. Had I forged a monster? Or merely mirrored one? I burned it in the sublet sink, watching flames lick the edges like absolution. Vertex thrived under my interim hand. R&D rebooted. Ethics charter etched in stone. Raj as CTO. Lena heading security. Tommy on retainer for the legacy lit. But the victory tasted like flat Popov, hollow. Hungover. Protests lingered. Now split, half hailing Nevaeh's reckoning, half decrying corporate cannibalism. Ethan's trial loomed. A spectacle that'd drag family laundry into federal court, forcing the city to pick sides. Was I hero, hauling a prodigal to justice, or villain, devouring her young for a corner suite? 3 months post-callout, I stood in that reclaimed boardroom, skylines sprawling like conquered turf. The hook that started it all, his disappointment, now echoed mine. I'd won the war. But the piece? A Pyrrhic puzzle, leaving readers, reporters, even me, arguing the gray. Does blood excuse betrayal? Can revenge redeem? Or just recycle the rot? Ethan took a plea 5 years. White-collar wing at Terre Haute, visiting rights denied at my request. He wrote once more, disappointments mutual now. But thanks for the lesson. I filed it away, uncapped a fresh bourbon, and toasted the wind. Chicago doesn't forgive, but it forgets just enough to rebuild. And me, Nevaeh Harlan, Phoenix or Pariah, I'd code the next chapter on my terms. Legacy isn't given, it's seized, stained, and somehow, still standing. The end leaves it open to debate. Triumphant tragedy, where no one's hands are clean.